guess we'll get started. We had a few practices. You guys are aware, and everybody's attitude's good. We've had some young guys that have showed up a little bit and may be able to help us some this year. Other than that, Mason's done real well, and Victor and Chad and Stearns and Lampkin, those guys on defense have shown up. The guys that we would think should make some plays. Today was a day off for us, and we'll go back at it tomorrow. Looking forward to getting into pads here pretty soon and finding out kind of where we're at as a team. But up to this point, everything is going really well, and just enjoying watching the guys progress.
Coach, on Tuesday, you had mentioned that you hope to have a second or third string quarterback within a week or so to get more snaps. Is that you still on target for that?
Sure.
The first couple of days?
Yeah, by the end of next week, we should have a plan for what we're going to do with the backup quarterback. We have a couple guys that are improving each day, but there's only so many reps, and so by that time we need to come up with a good plan.
Right now, how do you what's your thought about replacing a guy like J.W. Walsh in that position? Do you hope the running game gets better, or is there a young quarterback that could possibly get the 50% of what J.W. accomplished? Or how do you what's the game plan?
We don't have that player right now that fits the role that J.W. gave us last year. If we come across a player like that, then we'll use a guy because we feel like it helped our offense. Well, we know it did with J.W., but we don't have that player now that's been developed. And so Mason will work in short yardage and goal line, and we make the adjustments based on what his abilities are. And until we find a player that can fit that role.
In terms of Mason's development, you talk about that goal line usage. Just because he didn't get much time down there with JW last season, is that a real point of emphasis in his development in camp, getting him used to those situations that maybe he didn't get live experience?
He's always practiced them, and we had a plan in case JW wasn't going to be with us if something were to happen to him. We had those schemes. They're just minor adjustments in plays we use up in the field with a little heavier personnel. And he's a good throwing quarterback down there inside the 5-yard line. He's been pretty accurate. So we would lean more toward those plays than trying to draw something new. But he will get the work because he'll be the guy that gets it in practice.
I know it's early in camp, but have you seen a change in Mason's leadership style or demeanor without a JW on the roster as his role in that way developed any?
I really haven't seen any difference in him. He's been really good in the summer. I mentioned it earlier. He's been very humble and talked about the team, and I like where he's at right now. And I think they did a really good job of sharing that, and I do feel like that he's aware that he's really the leader on offense now, but I haven't seen any adjustments because he's always been really good at being a leader for our team. Well, he's always been a physical player. He's been tough. He's been reliable for us. And the leadership that he can show to the younger players now with him being a veteran player will be important to our team. But he needs to continue with the toughness and the attitude that he brings to the back of our defense. He's matured considerably over the last year or so. Even though he was playing, he's taken care of his body. His class attendance, his grades, things like that are all really good, which is a good sign of maturity.
Mike, is leadership, going back to that, is that something you try and coach, or is that really just up to the players?
Both. I think that we have a responsibility to try to instill leadership in young men that we feel like that can eventually lead our team. Sometimes you'll have young men that becomes natural to them, but I think it works both ways.
Now that Mike, now that you guys have at least a handful couple practices under your belt, have you started to see maybe some obvious improvements in the offense?
Well, it's just too early because we haven't had pads on, and so you just don't see a lot right now. But, you know, by Monday, we should start to see some improvements, and we need to find where we or what our strengths are and really push hard in those areas. And other areas we feel like that we're not as good at, we've got to get away from them and come up with a plan that we can be sound and come off the ball and be more aggressive.
You talk about Jordan Brailford, what you've seen out of him so far.
Well, we like Jordan and Jarrell and the young linemen that we have. They're active, they're athletic, their bodies have changed, their attitudes are good, and you know, it may be halfway through the season before we can see those guys show up as much as we all want them to. But they're still young, but we like the future, and he's certainly a guy that should make a lot of plays here before his career's finished.
With the youth at those ends, how important is it for those veterans in the middle on the tackle position to kind of get lead right now with those young guys at the end?
Well, they work together, you know, along with the backers. You know, they're all kind of in the same world, and fortunately this year we've got, you know, a legitimate 2 deep at the tackle spot that we feel like we can roll those guys in, and that's a nice addition for us. Very seldom have we had that in the last, well, several years. So between those inside players and the backers, hopefully they can help us bring the ends along.
Mike, you got stretched a little bit last year with some injuries defensively when Jimmy went down, and when Ryan Simmons went down, that caused Chad Whitener in. Between those guys and returning starters, and maybe some young players that haven't played, but you've identified with some talent, can you see this defense being deeper than it's been in a while?
We could be. We need to develop another corner to make me feel a little better. But in the front 7, we have a number of guys by mid-season that could give us quality playing time in conference play. We have key positions that we need players to stay healthy, like always. But if we're fortunate and that happens, by mid-season we could be deeper on defense. That's correct.
Go ahead.
The defensive tackle position you talked about a second ago. What do you ascribe that to, the depth there, the talent there? How do you explain how you guys are doing all the time?
I think Joe Bob's done a really good job recruiting, and he's evaluated, and Rob Glass has developed players, and we've had some good luck in keeping them around, and it takes a little while to develop those guys, just like it does offensive linemen. And you know, we're fortunate. We should have a pretty good run for quite a while here. We have younger guys in the program that may not show up this year that we like, and so I think it's just based on being able to identify the players that can come in the program, and we can develop them and they can stay with us. We're anticipating him being full speed here in a couple weeks. He's been released, but we're protecting him some just because he's been out for so long. But he's certainly a big body that understands, and he's the type of player you're looking for inside. And so it's nice to get him back, and like to keep him healthy and get him in good shape and find out how well he can play.
You and your staff have really capitalized on that graduate transfer rule. I mean, it seems like every guy that's come through here has made major contributions. You've got one that I think everybody knows that's in this group this year. The other one, maybe people don't know as well, and that's at corner with Lindsey Pipkins. Talk about what he might be able to do for you and what you've seen out of him.
Well, he's going to give us some depth and some playing time at that position. In this league, you could play with 3 and maybe sometime even 4 corners in a game, whether you're going to be in a nickel or dime package. He's older. He's played at this level. So I would suspect that he's going to be on the field quite a bit, and he needs to help us on special teams. He can be involved in punt return and punt coverage, and I think his body will be able to adapt and take it because he understands what it takes to play at this level.
Mary Jay grew up in this program, but this kid came in this summer, from everything I've heard, and looking at those guys you had in the past, you know, the Furmans and the Hunters and all those guys, are you surprised how quickly a senior can come in and just embrace a program and really become a good part of it, even though he's been in another one the first 3 or 4 years?
Years ago, I would have agreed that it would be really difficult for a young man to come in the summer and then perform well enough to actually contribute in September. The off-season training has changed so much, and Coach Glass, you know, if you give him 3 or 4 weeks, physically he can get them ready to play. And then the off-season training where the players run their own practices. But the reason that we're able to accomplish those goals with those fifth-year kids is because the team will embrace them and bring them in and make them feel welcome. You know, you image being in high school and transferring to another high school for your last year, and one of the adjustments would be getting to know the people and feeling comfortable and walking to class and so on and so forth. Well, it's the same, and these guys do a really good job, and I'm fairly convinced that that's why they're able to be successful here in a short period of time.
The reason is obvious, but what do you make of all the buzz and curiosity about Mary Jay?
Well, just what you said. I mean, it's you know, obviously with his dad and coming back here and his family in Oklahoma City, and that's kind of what drives the market. People don't want to necessarily hear about the norm, and they want to hear about things that they potentially think can be bigger, and so he draws a lot of attention, and he's been tremendous in the way he's handled it. He has to live day in and day out, and especially here. And I watched the players that are on our team, and they've taken him in and they appreciate him. He's humble. He understands his background and embraces it and does a good job with it. And so his temperament has allowed him to be a member of our team really quick. But I would suspect each week people are going to ask, whether it's the local media or from the other team that we're going to play, about Junior, and just what drives the market.
What in Barry Sanders Sr. do you see in Junior? What is the thing that stands out? Is it his temperament, or?
Well, you know, Junior's nothing like his dad. Junior's got great communication skills. He loves to talk to people, you know. And Barry, when you get Barry in the right element, he's good, but he doesn't want to be in that element. And Junior he's like his mom. He's got great people skills. He's got a great smile. He likes to be around people. He's a great communicator. He's going to go out there in the world and do really well. And he catches the ball well. I have seen clips of him when he was playing out west where he made some cuts and did some things that look similar. But it's unfair to even begin to compare anybody to his dad. So we're going to know a lot more about him in 3 weeks, and then we'll know a lot more about him in the end of September and October of what he can bring to our team.
Presence, regardless of what he does or doesn't do for you on the field, does it elevate what's happening with the running backs just from the sheer fact that those guys know who his dad was and the potential that's there? Have you seen them, sort of the water rising all boats?
Yeah, they've had a good working relationship, but I would agree that there's some truth to that just by human nature. We have good young players in this class, freshmen, that I think has helped push the entire group. But one thing that that I have enjoyed watching in just the last few days is that Chris Carson's work ethic and approach, and Rennie's, and really not Jeff Carr, because Jeff Carr was new last year and kind of as a freshman, so I expected it from him, but their work ethic's been really good. And whether it's been junior or just them wanting to improve an area on our team that we need to improve to help with the overall picture, has been good.
Mike, back in January, you addressed the need to find a kickoff specialist who can get it through the end zone. Will you open that up to walk-on tryouts soon? I'm not sure what the schedule will be for that, but
We always have tryouts when school starts, and then you can enlarge your roster. But we've always made it public that if there's a young man in the school that can kick or punt, and you know, we have around 21,000 students here, give or take. Some of them may be off campus, but as much as soccer has grown in this state, I would always think there's got to be somebody here that can kick, and they're always welcome to come over. It's a great spot to earn a scholarship because we have to have the kickers and we have to have the punters, and as you guys know, we only sign one of those guys about every 3 or 4 years. So there's always roster spots. Now, Amendola, Philly, I call him, he's doing good kicking the ball, okay? And Grogan is still in the world he lives in, and obviously Zach is where he is. But he'll be a guy that'll get a chance to do some kickoff stuff for us because he has a really powerful leg. If he can satisfy what we need there, that allows Grogan to concentrate a little more on what his specialty is.
is that a good thing to have a guy who does both so you're not overloaded?
I mean, for a coach, you would like it to be different guys, and that way you're not, the wear and tear on their body, their legs is not as much. We'll just have to see how it works. But I think the difference this year is Philly brings us a little depth compared to what we really didn't have over the last few years.
I know it's early for you, but what's impressed you most about what team thus far?
Well, he understands football. It seems that a lot of what we can't coach comes natural to him. I like his demeanor. I like his work ethic. I like his attitude up to this point. He has a quick release. He gets rid of the ball fast. He's a true freshman. He's got a ways to go and throwing, and just like all of them had. But he doesn't have a lot of wasted motion, and I think he's going to be able to figure out the offense fairly quick, which then allows him to improve at a faster rate because he understands. I mean, like all of us, if we know what direction we're going, we're going to get there faster. If we're not sure, we're hesitant. And I don't see that with him at this point. I think he's going to pick it up pretty fast.
You know, there's a scenario when you have a special package to kind of take advantage of some of his skills.
His skills are a little different. Obviously, he's more elusive and can take off and run. But as I mentioned, I like his release. I like how he's throwing the ball now at this stage in his career. So whether it's Mason or Taylor or Woodty or Kolar, we have a base offense that we refine for each one of those guys, even while they're practicing out here. So some of the plays that we think Mason is good at, Kolar may not run them, or Woodty may not run them, or vice versa. We even do that in practice.
You know what you've got with James Washington, and Juwan Seals has been in the program, some of the other receivers that are older. Jalen Mccleskey, you know, small amount of what you saw out of him last year. How much can he propel and be a bigger part of what the offense has got going?
We have to find ways for him to touch the ball. He's explosive. He's competitive. You know, he's a year into it now. And so this year's offense could be a little more specific by player than what we've been here in the last 10 years. Meaning that we may have certain guys skill-wise that are able to execute certain plays, that we need to try to make sure we get those called and get the ball to those guys in order to give us the best chance to be successful on offense.
And when you go recruiting, do you look at the pedigree of players sometimes and see what?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, he's a good player, but you know, it's like anything else. I mean, horse racing and whatever. But you know, the history says that if their pedigree is good, then there's a good chance that that could continue during their career here. Not always, but it gives you a better chance. And so we invest a lot of time in what kind of people they are, how they treat their moms, and what kind of respect they have for just the general things in society that I think that we're lacking as a group, maybe in this country. But we look at that, and they certainly have to be athletic enough to play here. And then if they have good pedigree, then that just makes the stock go up even a little more.
Part of his pedigree with his dad, because his dad seems to always want to be coaching young receivers. He played in the NFL. So Jalen kind of gets that gym rat reputation from his dad. You got another freshman that came in, and he seems at this point to be that gym rat kind of guy, and Dylan Stone. Is he cut from the same cloth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they run around out there and compete and catch the ball and throw the ball and hand it to them, and they look a lot alike. I mean, they just kind of operate the same way. Gym rat is a good term for those guys.
The receivers that you've coached and or thrown to, where does James, how do you compare James Washington with one of those guys that maybe you?
Well, you know, I mean, nobody really compares to Hartley Dykes. I mean, was such a physical presence, you know, 6'4", 225 pounds. I don't know that anybody's ever gotten to his level, but Dez was a great player, we all know. Blackman was a great player. Rashawn Woods was a great player. James falls more into the Rashawn Woods category, in my opinion. He's very quiet. He's a terrific route runner, and he's got a burst that's a little more deceptive than what defensive players think, and that's what makes him a good player. All of them are ultra competitive, and he's more of the Rashawn Woods mold than the other guys.
Might bring in Josh Hansen as one of your analyst positions. I mean, it seems like a great fit, but what made you feel like he was the right guy to help you out there?
Well, Josh is an Oklahoma State guy. You know, he and Shauna both were here in school, and he's done very well on his own. You know, went down and worked with Coach Miles, and then went on and became a coordinator and did very well. You know, Missouri had tremendous success those years that they were there with Pinkel and him. I mean, they won a lot of games. And in offensive line play, in the running game, you know, he's been trained by one of the best in Coach Miles, and so I feel strongly about the knowledge he brings to the table in that area. And he's expanded that now. He understands quarterback play. He understands the passing game and downfield stuff. You know, those guys, to a certain extent, that are linemen or coaching the line, they live in a world about as big as this stage. They don't know anything going on behind those cameras. Well, he's evolved into understanding the game more. And, I mean, he's, of course, Bill Clay's back with us, but both of those guys are a great addition for us.
I was going to ask, you have a year of those guys on staff. I mean, can you even think, like, how did we do it without these guys after 1 year, just with all they've done? How do you rate their impact?
Well, not necessarily how did we do it without them, but you'd like to have 3 to 4 more on each side of the ball, like the SEC. You know, they get 5 or 6 on each side of the ball. I mean, we'd love to have that. I mean, you just image, you know, Darrell White was here last year. He's at Houston. You know, the knowledge that he brought to the game. And there's other guys out there. I know that I think Tim Beckman went to North Carolina to work for Fedora. So when you bring guys like that have been coaching 25 years and they understand the position, and their wear and tear mentally daily is much less than ours because they're not actually coaching and recruiting, and all they're doing is thinking and looking at ball, then they can bring or give us great suggestions that maybe we can't come up with because of just fatigue of being during the season. So they're certainly a great asset to our program.
Mike, can you talk about today getting to interact with the fans and maybe your best interaction out there?
Well, it's a lot of fun. It is long. It's 2 hours or a little over 2 hours of signing. But once you get to it and you see the people, I see so many families that come back each year and their kids are growing up, and they'll show you pictures that you took with them when I had to hold them on my leg, and now they're as tall as I am, and that makes it a neat day. And Oklahoma State's always been special that way with our group that have been loyal to us, and it makes me proud when the parents and the other families of people that have little ones here come and say how terrific our team is, talking to them, engaging with them, not sitting there like they're a bump on a log. Hey, it's good to have you here. We want to take pictures, and that's really what it's all about. We're in the business here of trying to develop young men to prepare them to be successful and contribute to society in a positive way, and that's part of it. They need to learn to work with other people and look people in the eye and shake hands and so on and so forth. And so we all need to do that and extend ourselves to people that come and watch us play. They're the ones that show up, and it's 10 degrees out here or 110 degrees out here, and they're yelling for us, and that's why it's important.
Like, it's year 2 for you with a tight ends coach now that you brought it back. How do you see that position evolving now that you got coaching here for
We like where we're at with it. We like the guys that we have, and they can play on the line, they can split out, they can play in the backfield, and we need to be able to condense that package down to where that they can be successful in those areas, and we have good quality guys there coming back. Veach and Jarwin and Frazier, and Neff's playing in there some, Keenan Brown's playing in there some. Those guys go back to what I talked about earlier, that they have areas that they specialize in, even though they're the same position. And so I think it's important this year for us to know what those strengths are and use them in those areas and not try to get too much out of them. And they fall in that category.
Your last 2 walk-on quarterbacks, previous to Taylor, are on scholarship at Texas A&M and Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
You've got more walk-ons over there now than you've had in a long time. In fact, you have a number of walk-ons that are playing kind of key roles. You mentioned Philly, a kicker, giving you depth. He's a walk-on. Has this walk-on program hit another level, and would you rate your walk-on program maybe as one of the best in the country, at least as far as you know?
It's hard to compare what everybody else has, but this is the best group we've ever had. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, because we have a plan, a system set up to be able to go out and bring young men in that at some point probably should have gotten a scholarship at this level or maybe right below. That's somebody else's opinion. And then our administration is backing us up because there's a lot of requirements involved in bringing walk-ons financially. There's things we can do now. We can feed them, obviously in all of preseason, but during the season, there's a lot of things we can do, academic resources, and we go right up to the line from an NCAA standpoint and say, this is everything we can do. We're going to do every single thing we can to make this best. This is the best place for you to walk on. And we have to get administration, Coach Holder, and a lot of people to agree with that because there's some value in it. So this group we have now is the best group we've had overall. And for Oklahoma State to continue to play at the level we have to have as many walk-ons as possible that can help us, because what that does is that allows us to find out if they can fit our system and allows them to find out if we fit their system, and it has to work for both sides. Sometimes they're here and it may not, and they go somewhere else and play. It could be a lower level school, like Raymond Taylor. Raymond Taylor scored for us last year and made some key runs. Well, he didn't feel like that he was going to get what he wanted this year, so he moved on. I think he's at Tulsa now. That's awesome for him. But he was good for us while he was here, and I think we were probably good for him. And that's really what you get from the walk-ons. And with the rules set up the way it is now, it allows them some freedom. And I think it's good. There's a lot of kids in this state that don't get recruited as hard as they should have.
The 11 and plus years that you've been here, what is the one most significant thing that you can say that this program has done since your day one to now in positive? You know, what would be the most significant thing that you think has occurred with this football program?
You're talking about outside of winning?
Well, add winning to it.
I mean, we all know that there's a lot of things that we do that are important, but if we don't win, then I'm not standing here in 12 years. So it doesn't make a difference. We've been able to perform on the field and win differently than ever in the history of this program consistently. But one thing that I think that we've done that has changed, that is enjoyable for me, is when I'm at practice, I can stand and watch I think I could go out the gate and go north and go over there and hide behind that big pile of dirt where their construction is, and the practice would run itself. I don't even think I have to be in there. I can be away, and the coaches understand responsibility, and what that's done, Al, is that's developed a core value, a system we have in place here, and that's what keeps us at the level we are, because coaches come and go, players come and go, guys go out early. Nowadays, guys transfer, but the core value in our system has not changed. That's the one thing that we've accomplished here, and that should allow Oklahoma State to perform and be at a high level for a long time. And that was not the easiest thing to accomplish.
Mike, you added a couple full-time graphic designers for your staff just to work with recruiting. Why did you do it, and have you seen the benefits of that already just in the short time they've been?
Yeah, they've been awesome, and we need 2 more. I mean, everything is moving in that direction. You guys know that. It'd be a waste of oxygen for me to talk about how important technology is. And you can read. There was an article on ESPN that talked about just recently. You guys may have seen it today or yesterday. It came out. It talked about how it's changing with subscribers, and just what technology and social media is doing to all of our lives. So if we don't try to stay ahead of the game in that part of the world, then we're really lessening our chances to be successful in recruiting the quality student athletes that need to come here and graduate and perform on the football field, because that's the world they live in. When I was gone a couple weeks ago with my kids playing baseball in Colorado, we had a break for 2 days between the 2 tournaments. So we just got in the minivan and just started going north. And we didn't stop till we got to Yosemite. Not Yosemite, Yellowstone. I wish I could have gone to Yosemite, didn't have time. Went to Yellowstone. Well, they lost cell service for a day and a half. Well, you would have thought they lost their life. 11 and 14, I'm serious. For me, it was awesome, because Kevin and Gavin were trying to call me, and I don't have any cell service, and they didn't have Wi-Fi or anything. For 36 hours, they lost essentially their phones. They wanted to turn around and go the other direction as fast as they could so they could just get into cell service and get into Wi-Fi service. And so that'll give you an example of how important these guys are from a communication standpoint to who we're trying to target and what we're trying to accomplish.
On recruiting, do you think your hairstyle has given you a bump in the past couple weeks?
I guess, I mentioned it needed a little trim here and there, and our social media people said, you can't do it, our ratings are going up too much. You've got to let it roll. So
who's got the best hair on the team? There's been so much talk about yours, but when you look at the guys, maybe even some behind us, who's got the best hair?
Honestly, I don't ever look at them really. I see them in their helmet a lot, but they'll have a hard time competing with me right now. I mean, they have a hard time. So, but we're having a lot of fun. All right, guys, thanks.